Good morning, or depending when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name is Ross, and as always told, I had a voice radio. So today, I'm going to be showing you a Pokemon trading card game deck that I think we were all sleeping on for way too long. And now it might be too late. It's Mega Sceptile. Now this video is going up on Wednesday the 30th of August. Ancient Origins, from which this came, rotates out on Friday, so you haven't got long to play this. In Expanded it might be good, we'll have to see. But I think this was a viable standard deck that we all just flat out missed. So I thought I'd bring you a video about it. I went to a League Cup at the weekend. I played a dude who was at 2-0. I was also at 2-0. He said, I've got a really unusual deck. No one else is playing it. It was Mega Sceptile. I laughed at the idea of Mega Sceptile. I lost to Mega Sceptile with Golisopod Garbodor. So let's have a look at the basics. It really does revolve around the Mega and its Jagged Saber attack. 100 damage is fine. You may attach up to 2 grass energy from your hand to your bench Pokemon in any way you like. Any Pokemon you attach energy to, heal all damage. So in theory, if your opponent doesn't one-hit KO you, you just retreat, get the energy back, or get new energy, and then you attach an energy using this attack to the damaged Mega Sceptile, and you heal completely. It is a little bit silly. And of course, we've just had a reprint of Super Scoop Up, which allows you to pick up a Pokemon if you flip ahead. And we've just had our first ever print of Acerola, which allows you to pick up one of your damaged Pokemon and all cards attached to it. So you don't even need to heal with Jagged Saber if you don't want to. And this is really how the deck revolves, and it's very simple. You hit for 100 every turn, and if your opponent doesn't one-hit you, you completely heal. Now, we've actually got 2 non-Mega Sceptile EXs. The main one from Ancient Origins has Sleep Poison for 1 grass energy, 10 damage, flip a coin if head, sleep, and poison. And then for 2 energy, 130 damage if they're affected by a special condition. You won't be doing that often because you have to put them to sleep on a heads. Then you have to have them not wake up before their turn, and then not wake up before your turn. That's a 1 in 8 chance of them staying asleep just through sleep poison, and you're unlikely to be playing anything else to put special conditions on. You could play Salazzle from Guardians Rising, but honestly, ladies and gentlemen, it's just too clunky. Although, if you are playing this in Expanded, remember you can use Hypnotoxic Laser. The other one, and it's only really the first attack you'll ever use here, Agility. 20 damage, flip a coin, if heads, you're invulnerable next turn. Which is really quite fun. Now your opponent can always Guzma around it, but unless they've got something like a Guzma or a Pokemon Ranger, you are off the hook, and no one's playing Ranger at the moment, ladies and gentlemen. Do remember you could play the Victini from Guardians Rising if you wish, that would then allow you to have a reflip, so you'd have a 75% chance of being invulnerable for a turn with Agility. This isn't really a game-winning attack like that, but wasting a couple of turns while your opponent decks out, buying yourself some time to build up Mega Sceptile, ladies and gentlemen, that will work nicely. Now, in terms of other Pokemon, there's only really one other attacker that you need in this deck, and that's Tapu Bulu. Tapu Bulu does 2 things fantastically. Firstly, it's not weak to fire, whereas Mega Sceptile has a crippling fire weakness. Tapu Bulu doesn't. It gives you a chance, although if you're not playing Energy Acceleration, then Tapu Bulu's a little bit too slow. Although being a basic, you could here play around with Max Elixir. But that really is about the only one you can use, and otherwise he might be too slow. The other thing he does is he hits 180 if you're willing to discard the energy, and that goes up to 210 with a Choice Band. And this helps out in a bunch of matchups. I told you I was playing Golisopod. Well, a little bit scary when your opponent can hit 210 on Golisopod without using their GX attack. Yeah. It can also one-hit KO Alolan Ninetales and Espeon EX, basically any Stage 1 GX that isn't Alolan Muck, and nobody's playing Alolan Muck. Now, they're really the only attackers, but there are a couple of other Pokemon you might need here. You need Sudowoodo, just because of Mega Rayquaza. I've told you that, essentially, if a deck cannot one-hit KO you, you heal and they don't KO you. Well, Mega Rayquaza absolutely can use Skyfield, get a whole bunch of Pokemon out, and then use Emerald Break. Yeah, that is a bad thing. You use Sudowoodo, the ability comes in, and then your opponent cannot have more than 4 benched, which means they're not doing any more than 120, which means you are absolutely fine. And because it's so reliant on Pokemon like Shaymin to draw cards, and Dragonite to recover Shaymin to draw cards, and Hooper, honestly, they're not going to be playing Ability Lock, so you'll be fine. Speaking of which, you also need Hooper here. You're relying on an EX and a Mega EX. Hooper is just too good. Now, Hooper has a huge downside that it's a 2-price Pokemon that's weak to Garbodor, and that is a little bit dodgy in some matchups, and it is a terrible Pokemon to have if you start the game. But outside of that, ladies and gentlemen, it just gives you massive added consistency that you really need in a deck like this. It is awesome. Now, in terms of the other key cards you're looking at here, there are a few. You need Mega Turbo. Mega Sceptile attacks for 2 energy. And you're often going to be using Super Scoop Up or Ace Roller to heal and blah blah blah. You are going to have to accelerate a second energy. You're not always going to have 2 energy for every Mega Sceptile, which is why you need to play Mega Turbo. If you don't have a second energy, you can always use something like Agility to try and buy a turn, or Sleep Powder to try and buy a turn. Sleep Powder's better at kind of annoying your opponent, but Agility's probably better at actually buying a turn, because you just need to flip 1 heads and then you're immune for a turn. That is where Mega Turbo comes in. You get that second energy that you need. The next 2 cards, I mentioned them before, but they are very much worth mentioning again. Acerola and Super Scoop Up. You heal your Pokemon. This deck has a very simple premise, and the premise is, if you can't one-hit KO me, I will heal, and you will not be able to KO me. So, there you go. You need the healing. Do remember that Super Scoop Up means you're using an item, and that is an issue with Garbodor running around. Obviously, Garbodor isn't going to get a one-hit KO on you until you've played 11 items, or 10 items if they've got a choice band, but you need to keep that number down or else it will go badly. Energy retrieval is very important because Mega Sceptile attaches from the hand and heals while it does. You need that energy in your hand, ergo energy retrieval is very useful. And finally, and it's not particularly surprising, but let's say it anyway, Spirit Link. You need to use Spirit Link so that you can evolve without ending your turn. So we're going to finish by having a look at some of the matchups, some of the decks that can and cannot one-hit KO you. So decks that can one-hit KO you, and these decks you will lose to. Volcanion and Turtonator. There is nothing you can do about this, ladies and gentlemen. It's not worth trying to beat this deck because you're never going to, not without completely wrecking your entire list, and that's not worth it. You aren't beating Volcanion Turtonator, and at the risk of sounding a little bit defeatist, don't even try. Rayquaza is an issue, or would be if you weren't playing Sudowoodo. With Sudowoodo you should be fine. Garbodor can one-hit KO you if you've got 11 items in the discard, or 10 and they've got a choice band. So that's up to you. You can control that. Gardevoir can get a one-hit KO, but they need 8 total energy. So if you've got 2 energy on you, they need 6 energy, or 5 and a choice band. Although you're rarely 2-hit KOing. If you get an evolution without using Spirit Link, or you play a Field Blower on your own Spirit Link, and as a side note, that is an option here for all Megas, Field Blower the Spirit Link so you can then attach something like a choice band, then, you know, you really need something like that just to get the 2-hit KO. But I tell you what, Seb, who played Sceptile at the weekend, he beat a couple of Gardevoir. And how about decks that can't? Well, Greninja I mean, you should absolutely destroy Greninja. You're hitting for weakness, and I haven't even mentioned yet the Theta Double Ancient Trait, which means you cannot be affected by abilities. So, yeah, Greninja Break can't actually hit you with its Giant Water Shuriken ability, which is frankly ridiculous. Although there aren't many others around at the moment. Although Decidueye would be one more. Decidueye just cannot put damage counters on you. So, probably should have mentioned that earlier. It's a fun thing to talk about. Alolan Ninetales cannot get a one-hit KO. They're only, even with a Kukui Choice Band, they're only hitting 210. Golisopod cannot get a one-hit KO. Their biggest attack only hits for 150, 180 with a Choice Band. Garbodor cannot KO you if you control your items. Gardevoir cannot KO you unless they get a huge amount of energy on. Metagross cannot one-hit KO you. They're hitting 180 with a Choice Band. Decidueye cannot one-hit KO you. And remember, they cannot use Feather Arrow against your Mega. I know there are a bunch of matchups here which could be bad. But if you play stuff like Greninja, Ninetales, Metagross, Decidueye, you're having a great time. Stuff like Garbodor, Gardevoir, and Golisopod, the G's as it were, are neither particularly good nor particularly bad matchups. You've got to play it right. I lost to this deck in Swiss, and in the top 4, Seb, who piloted this deck, took down a Worlds competitor with Espeon Garbodor, and this is a Worlds competitor who did incredibly well. I think he top 16'd in the Anaheim Open with this deck. A good player piloting the deck well. Yeah. You will be pleased to know that I did get my revenge in the final of the League Cup, but I tell you what, ladies and gentlemen, it was literally, in Game 2, I had teammates for the win that turn, else we'd have been going to a Game 3. It is not an easy matchup. But I want to know what you think about Mega Sceptile. Yes, I'm sad that it's rotating. It's a really fun deck, and it's a really good one to have a go with. Maybe it'll be good in Expanded. Now in Expanded, you've got stuff like Night March, which makes it a little bit more difficult. But then again, Night March has a hard time KOing Megas anyway. But you know what, ladies and gentlemen? I think it's fun, and I think you should try it. Make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at TheWassy, and Twitch at twitch.tv/PTCGRadio. If you want to get some live action, if you want to support the channel, you can do so at patreon.com/PTCGRadio. I'm uploading a new bonus pod this week, and when I do, bonus pod 2 will be lost forever. You've been warned. The most important thing, as always, look after yourselves until next time. Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.